Okay, there's been so much talk on forums and on videos and on everything across the interwebs about running X blades. So this video is going to be 100% solely about X blades, everything that you need to know from my experience that I can share with you if you're thinking about running X blades. But just a heads up, before we even get started, I'm not responsible for your stupid ass decisions if you don't use a little common sense, because like anything else, common sense goes a long way, and especially with running X blades.
I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul.
So I'm going to show you guys my setup and how I run them, and then we'll go over and discuss different types of blades, what you can do and how you can do it, and I'll show you these blades so that you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then I will show you as far as running a kit, not running a kit. So let's take a look at how I have them on one of my machines. So here I have a 2010 Toro Grandstand, okay? This does not have an EFI engine. It has a Kawasaki. I believe this is the FS691V. I believe that's a 23.5 horse, might be 26. I can't remember. Either way, it is not EFI. My recommendation, running X blades works better on EFI engines. You don't get as much lag, but I still barely get any with this machine. So let's take a look at my setup. So this is my X blade setup, okay? I have, on the bottom, I have a high lift, short tail blade, and on the top, I have a medium to low lift, long tail blade. A lot of people ask me short tail to long tail, this is a difference. This right here is from cutting 4 days in wet grass and a light drizzle on me. I do not usually mow in the rain, but this week it's just been a steady drizzle a lot of days and very soaking wet, very tall grass. And all in all, not that much buildup in there for well, actually today is Friday, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Thursday wasn't bad at all. I haven't scraped this deck at all this week. And that's all that is in this deck. So let's take these off and I'll show you how I have them on here. So here's my X blade setup. Like I said, I have it's a low to medium lift, long tail, regular tail blade on top. Take that one off. Here is the bracket for running X blades. It has wings that come down on that side and wings that go up on that side. So the wings that go down, when you put it on, it goes down over top of the edge of the blade, and then the wing comes up right there so that it keeps the top blade centered right in there. And on the bottom, I have a short tail high lift blade. This is my setup preference for running X blades. Now, what I'll cover real quick is a lot of people have said that they don't run these and they'll just run 2 blades like that, which I have done many times over 23 years of running X blades on and off for 23 years for myself and my company and other companies I've worked for. And we used to just run the bolt straight up through and torque it in there and they would be just fine. Almost never have I ever found blades would turn or do something like that. Never happened. It's never happened to me. I've heard of it. I say almost never because I've heard of it happening to other people. I've never physically seen proof of it, but it's never happened to me. So running the bolt straight up through there without these brackets. I like the idea of those brackets, so I use them. I've also heard of people putting the blades on there and then they weld the blades together, run a bead of weld that side and that side. That's a great idea. Here's the problem. When you're running X blades and you sharpen your blades and put them on the machine, you had better balance these blades out. I know a lot of guys just sharpen blades and they don't bother to balance them. You better make sure they're all balanced, because now instead of just 3 blades turning and causing that vibration in your spindles and in your deck, if they're not balanced, you now have 6 blades doing that. That is going to cause damage eventually. The problem with running a bead of weld on both sides is if you have these blades individually balanced and then you go ahead and you put the two blades together and you weld them together, your new issue is if you don't have the exact same amount of weld on each side, it is now unbalanced and it's going to throw it off and cause vibration. The other problem with welding them together, it makes it a real pain in the ass to sharpen these blades. If you're doing it with an angle grinder, which I do not recommend, if you are in business, just bite the bullet, spend the money and buy yourself a good quality blade sharpener. I use the RBG 712. You can use what you want, but angle grinder is old school and you never maintain that perfect 30-degree angle and your cut definitely affects it. But that's how I run it. That's how I have mine set up. So let's discuss these kits. Okay, so I cleaned this up on the wire wheel here so I could show it to you a little bit better. Maybe you can get a better idea. This is what's considered the X-Blade kit. This is what comes with it. Just 3 of these for your mower. Now, that being said, depending on what mower you get them for, you have the option of just buying these, or on certain ones, like I just ordered them for my Exmark Laser Z X series. That one has the bigger hole because that's how Exmark blades are, but you also need to run longer bolts because the bolt that comes with these isn't long enough to hold multiple blades plus these brackets and go up in the spindle far enough to get enough bite to hold it in there. So you get the longer bolts. So that's another option. These here, let's go into a little more detail about these. These sell on Ballard's website, okay? I believe I paid $34 for the kit for those, which is just those 3 pieces, and that's all I run on the Toro. And it's the same thing with the Skag, V-Ride 2. So they sell those on Ballard. There's multiple people that make those, okay? And people have been running X-Blades since the 80s, early 80s. They've been running them forever. And there's a lot of misbeliefs, misconceptions with running X-Blades. Now, I know some people have a little animosity towards Corey Ballard. I don't really know why. That's their own problem. But this video isn't to discuss Corey Ballard. So a lot of people I've seen in the forum say they're not ordering them or buying them from Corey Ballard because they don't like him. In my opinion, that's pretty stupid. You're not going to buy a product that could essentially help you out just because you don't like a certain person. But this video isn't to discuss Corey Ballard. He's the most common known for selling these. He does not manufacture these. He does not make these. He just sells them like he does with most of his products. So you can go to his website and you can get these if you want to run the kit. Now, let's discuss how it affects the machine. Now, this is where a little common sense comes into play, and this is huge, huge. I would never, running X-Blades, I would never engage my blades at full throttle. You have 6 blades under there, and when you put 6 blades on there and you hold it up, by like the center bolt through it, hold it up, it's a lot of weight. It's heavy. So does it put more draw on the machine? Yes, absolutely. I burn a lot more fuel running X-Blades on that Toro than I do not running X-Blades when I just have 3 blades in there. So it burns more fuel, which means, yes, the engine is working harder. A lot of people comment on these forums, on these posts, and say it'll destroy spindles, it'll destroy clutch, it'll destroy this, it'll destroy that. Never, ever, ever have I had an issue. And like I said, 23 years on and off. For other companies and for myself, I've been running X-Blades. I've never once had anything premature failure, premature wear, because a direct result of X-Blades, okay? If you're engaging your clutch at full throttle with 6 blades on there, you're probably gonna tear the clutch out of that thing. Eventually, it's not gonna happen right away, but over time, that clutch is not gonna last the life that it normally would. Common sense. Engage it at half throttle. Spindles, if you keep your spindles greased, a lot of them now are non-greasable spindles. You really don't have to worry about that. But if they're greasable, keep your spindles greased to keep them cool. That's common sense. It's regular maintenance. You should be doing that anyway. Even if you're just running 3 blades, keep them greased. You're fine. Keep an eye on your belts. Make sure there's nothing in the shroud or in the deck, sticks, rocks, acorns, pine cones, anything like that that could get in the way of your belt or your pulleys that are going to take chunks out of your belt or wear and tear in your belt, things like that. Any of that kind of stuff that's going to affect premature failure of the belt. If you're watching that, like I said, common sense, guys, a little regular maintenance. You're not going to have, everybody says, oh, it's going to tear it. And I thought the same thing many years ago when I started running them, because you would think naturally you're putting 3 more blades on there, you're going to wear stuff out faster. I've never had an issue. I've talked to hundreds of guys that have run these things all over the country. They've been running them for years. Nobody has ever reported anything to me or explained any failure of any parts to me that were a direct result of running X-Blades. It was either because they weren't greasing their spindles, or their belts weren't in that good a shape when they first put them on there, or they're engaging at full throttle, things like that. That's where it's going to cause damage. Other than that, never an engine issue, never any issue. Let's discuss the blades. Okay, another big thing I see a lot. People say run mulch blades, gator blades, etc. So you have the option, and so G5s, G6s, any type of gator mulching blade, more of them over here, gator mulching blades. A lot of people say run those blades with it. When you're running X blades, it'll mulch things up better. Like I said, my preference always has been and always will be running that short tail high lift on the bottom with a medium to low lift, and like one of these right here, medium to low lift, long tail, regular tail on top. That's been my preference forever. That being said, I have tried running G5s, G6s, and what Skag calls their, I think it's the exterminator or eliminator blade, their mulching blade. I have tried running that. Now the combinations I've tried running it with is I've tried running it with low lift, high lift, super high lifts. I don't know if I have any super high lifts here. Sure I do. Right there, that's a super high lift. So that tail comes almost straight up. That's a super high lift. Way bigger than a regular high lift. I've tried running it with every combination you can think. I've tried running it all different types of blades, every blade you can think of. I've tried running the mulching blade on the bottom and the other one on top. I've tried running the other one, high lift, low lift, whatever, on the bottom, and the mulch on top, switching them back and forth. Never ever have I had good success with this. In my honest opinion, all the years I've been running these and all the experience I've had with running these, I do not believe X blades are designed for mulching. Not at all. Not at all. Will they mulch? Yes. You have 6 blades under there, so stuff is getting cut double, triple, maybe even quadruple times. So it's getting cut up a bunch of times. So you definitely get a lot smaller stuff coming out of that deck, ejecting out, and sometimes, depending on what you're cutting, it's like a mist almost coming out of that deck, or like a powder. But the main purpose and the best way to use X blades is because of its force. The power it's pushing it out of that deck, the force that is pushing out of that deck to get rid of the volume that you're cutting with that deck. Now, I've mentioned it in a bunch of videos. When I have those X blades on there, I can blow off driveways with that mower that I would normally need a backpack for reaching the distance and for wet grass on blacktop concrete. It just does it with those X blades, and that same exact mower does not do it with just 3 blades on there. You get so much force and so much power blowing out of that deck. All week long, I've taken very tall grass. I'm talking 10, 11, 12-inch grass, cutting it down to 3 1/4, 3.5 inches. A lot of it I've done on a single pass. Some of it I've double cut, no problem. You go over it once, and I go over it a second time, cleans it right up, fans it out. That's because of the force it's pushing out of that deck. That's the blade combination, and running the X blades allows that to happen. Now, when I have just 3 blades on there, even if I have high lifts or super high lifts on there, I cut it along once, it's really thick like that, and then I usually got to raise the deck a notch or 2 and then go over it again, and then it'll fan it out. When I'm doing it with the X blades, I leave it at the same height, works every time. Now, I'm up in the Northeast, okay? I'm right in the Niagara Falls area of New York. That makes a big difference. So where you're at, location is going to make all the difference in the world. It is nothing from my area for the first 3 months of spring for grass to grow 7, 8, 9 inches a week in between cuts. That's on non-fertilized lawns. It's very wet, very thick, very tall. That's just how it is in my area. Any of you guys that know who I am, I have hundreds and hundreds of videos across YouTube showing that and explaining that to you, and then showing examples and video proof of how that grass grows. There are a lot of videos on X-Blades I put out over the years as well. Not solely to X-Blades like this one is. So I hope this helps you out, guys. There's so much misbelief on there. I don't know. There's just so much crap on these forums all the time about X-Blades, and there's so many guys that don't have a friggin' clue what the hell they're talking about. They're just keyboard warriors talking shit to talk shit, and they have no experience, or they have very little experience, or they've tried putting X-Blades on. They don't normally do maintenance on their mowers, and the piece of shit just broke because their own fault, which they're never going to admit to you anyway. So coming from me, I'm not saying you have to do it all or do it my way. I'm not saying this is an end-all, be-all thing. I'm just telling you what my many years of experience running X-Blades for other companies, and then in my company now for the past 8 years, exclusively I've run these in spring and fall every year, and I've run them on walk-behinds, standers, sit-down zero turns. Hell, I have them on that Walker MT right over there. That Walker MT has Versamo X-Blades on it, and they never come off that machine. They've been on for 2.5 years. They never come off that machine. And that Walker does not clog, ever. I mow leaves in the spring. I mow over sticks, everything. And anyone that knows a Walker with that little plastic chute that comes out the back of the deck that goes up in the turbine, that thing will clog off a fart. Not with Versamo X-Blades on there. Bag all day long. All day long. Tons of videos on that too. But anyway, this is just everything I can give you guys on running X-Blades. My preference on blades, what I think is going to be the best for you as far as blades. Some guys say they've had success running gator blades or mulching blades as one of the blades on each spindle. Me, I never have, and I've tried on everything. Like I said, walk-behind mowers, Ferris's, Buntons, Skags, I've run them all. Standers from Skag to Toro, Great Dane, Exmark, Ferris, I've run them all. And then sit-down zero turns, same thing, okay? I run them all. Best way to run X-Blades is without gator blades at all, without any mulching blades at all. You will get mulching effect because you have 6 blades on there. It's gonna cut everything up smaller, it's gonna shoot it out, but that force that it pushes out the deck is where X-Blades are really going to shine, and they're really gonna help you out. So if you guys wanna run X-Blades, I hope this helps you. I hope this answered any of your questions. I will use this video solely as a reference point. Anytime I see an X-Blade question come up on the forums, things like that, I will automatically click the link and refer this video to anybody with questions. Everyone has their own opinion. It is what it is. This is just my experience and everything that I think you should know before you decide to run X-Blades.